second agent, in my opinion, is even a worse offender of this, because I used to listen to him for information, because I thought, even though he was a right-winger, he thought about what he was saying and believed some of it. Some of it. I no longer feel that way at all, because he's made a transformation, and a calculated transformation. His name is Ben Shapiro. He's got a very popular podcast, a right-wing podcast, but it became more popular when he decided to go for the money and get on board with Team Trump all the way. And let me explain what I mean. Ben Shapiro was always a right-wing pundit. Fast-talking guy, but he branded himself as an intellectual, and I will explain why it's actually the opposite. But he branded himself as this super whiz kid because he's accomplished some things at an early age, school-wise and intellectually. So a lot of people thought he was super bright. I don't know. I don't even know what that means, right? Nobody really knows what a smart person is. I have my own definition. But he's not it. Because he decided, when he actually was being honest about some of the things that Trump was doing, he got hammered for it in his ratings and his clicks. And he decided to say, screw it, I'm going full right wing all the time. And now everything that he says is pro-right, and the left are idiots and imbeciles. At least David Pakman probably believes most of what he's saying. Ben Shapiro does not. He is just shooting for clicks, likes, and money. And his desire to now be the Rush Limbaugh, because Rush Limbaugh is gone. And I am disgusted by it, because I actually used to listen to him for a reasoned opinion. No longer can I, because there is absolutely no reason left. It is all propaganda, and he knows what he's doing, and he made a calculated change to become an agent. He's like the Cypher in the Matrix.
Then we have a deal.
I don't want to remember nothing. Nothing. You understand? And I want to be rich. You know, someone important.
Tricks. He's like that guy who was kind of trying to be enlightened at one point, but realized that the steak tastes better keeping people in the dark. So he became a traitor to the Matrix and wanted to go back in. So that's what he did. He may be a genius, but I can't tell. You know, and what's hard is you make yourself look like a fool when you become a propagandist, because someone who cares about the facts and reason will make you look like an idiot, sometimes without even trying. I'm going to show you a clip of when this guy was on the Joe Rogan show, and he made himself look like an absolute imbecile because he's trying to trumpet these right-wing talking points when the facts are fairly clear. So watch this.
That is not, something has happened, and it is not a matter of increased racism. That's not happening because of increased racism, right? That is happening because there's been a cultural change that does not place tremendous emphasis for black or white or for anybody on personal responsibility and personal agency. There needs to be a mindset change. We do this, by the way, in all other areas of American life except for the most important decisions. In the area of sports, nobody does this routine. This is a point Shelby Steele makes. In the area of sports, if a kid does not have a good jump shot, nobody says to him, you know what, you don't have a good jump shot because your father didn't have a good jump shot, his grandfather didn't have a good jump shot, and the game is biased against you. We say, okay, if you want to be on the team, you're going to have to learn to shoot a jump shot, right? That right, sounds harsh, that sounds bad.
But sports are different. And here's why sports are different. Because sports, you enter them independently of your culture. You base what you're trying to do on the parameters of the rules and the people that you're competing against. That's how you look at it. So whatever culture you're from, you walk into this new thing with this very rigid set of rules.
But
Like,
I
this
don't,
is
I
the
don't think
three-point line.
I don't think white people or Jews or Asians have a monopoly on valuing education or a monopoly on hard work or punctuality or anything. I think that black people have exactly the same capacity as any people of any other race to do all of these things, and those are the preconditions for success. So you either meet them or you don't. I mean,
Right.
that's true for everybody.
But for success. But don't you think that a lot of that is predicated on the environment that you develop in, and the people that you're around, and the lives that you imitate, and the influences that you have around you?
Now I'll show you another clip of when he was on the David Pakman show, and he made himself look like another fool. Because propaganda is not about facts or truth. It's about just trumpeting BS so that you can convince people to think the way you want them to think. When actually he's just an agent of the Matrix. He knows what he's doing, keeping you in the dark, but he went for the money. So watch this.
Like, the very reason to have a commandment is because certain people in your community are behaving in a particular way, presumably.
Right.
There's no commandment not to take your head and shove it in a meat grinder.
Well, this is also the argument against pork, is because they didn't understand trichinosis. They didn't understand you have to cook the meat to 145 degrees, and pork parasites, which are very dangerous for people.
So I'm not a huge fan of naturalistic explanations for religion.
Don't you think that's a good one, though, for pork?
I mean, I don't know. Like, I think you could make an argument, maybe.
Okay, Ben Shapiro says very clearly he's against naturalistic explanations for religion, meaning he doesn't like explaining religious precepts with sort of real-world justifications from nature. Ben Shapiro said very clearly he's against that. Fine. So then about 90 seconds go by. Okay, this next clip is from 90 seconds after what I just played for you. And Ben Shapiro gives a naturalistic explanation for Moses parting the Red Sea. He just said he's not into naturalistic explanations, and here he gives a naturalistic explanation 90 seconds later.
Do you think
There
he was
was
resurrected?
No, that's not a Jewish belief.
Okay, I just want to check.
Yeah, no, we're not into
You're
we're not
into
into miracle
zombies?
stories. No, that's
No?
no.
You don't have any miracles? in
No,
here?
not by Jesus. Right?
No?
They're ones
But
in the Old
God
Testament.
ones?
Yeah, you've got Moses splitting the sea and all that.
What do you think happened there?
What do I think happened there?
Yeah.
Well, I'll go with the Maimonidean explanation that there was. It says in the Bible there was a strong east wind. So there was a naturalistic explanation for a physical phenomenon.
That makes sense.
I mean, that's what Maimonides is constantly trying to do, is read nature back into the Bible.
Yeah.
He says it's the miracle of Moses parting the Red Sea, and he naturalistically explains it, wind in the Red Sea area, which is a very common naturalistic explanation for the parting of the Red Sea in the Old Testament, which he just said he's not in favor of. He's not in favor of those types of explanations, except all of a sudden when he is.
Clip, so you can see how a supposed genius also, again, looks like an idiot. And this is an image of a petulant child trying to conduct an interview, but being outed as a petulant child because the interviewer is actually having him explain some of these right-wing talking points that he said in his past. So watch this.
Some of the ideas that are popular in your side of politics would seem to take us back to the Dark Ages, Georgia, new abortion laws, which you are much in favor of, that a woman who miscarries could get 30 years. A Georgian woman who travels to another state for an abortion procedure could get 10 years. These are extreme hard policies.
Well, okay, a couple of things. One, I'm not sure. I mean, frankly, I don't know whether are you an objective journalist or are you an opinion journalist?
I'm a
Just so I know.
journalist that asks questions.
And then at the end of this, he starts hurling insults because now the interviewer is hammering him, no doubt about it. But guess what? These are things you said. If you stand on it like a rock and commit to what you said, then why are you getting upset? But this dude storms off of the broadcast because he's getting called to the carpet about stuff he said already. So watch this.
I guess
If you want to read, honestly, this is a giant waste of time in the sense that the entire interview is designed for you to shout slogans or old things that I've said at me. I don't see how this forwards the debate. You talk about undermining the public discourse. It seems to me that simply going through and finding lone things that sound bad out of context and then hitting people with them is a way for you to make a quick buck on BBC off the fact that I'm popular and no one has ever heard of you.
There are not many bucks to be made on the BBC, unlike American broadcasting, Mr. Shapiro. The point I'm trying to make is that your words are hardly designed to produce the consensus and understanding that the book seems to want to produce. That's my point, that you write about, Judeo-Christian culture and so on, but so much of what you've said in the past would seem to turn its back on Judeo-Christian culture.
You're lecturing me on Judeo-Christian culture after you call the pro-life position barbaric?
I just asked you a question.
And I asked you a question. You failed to answer a single one of mine. Frankly, I find this whole thing a waste of time. If you want to read the book and critique the book, why don't you read and critique the book? If you want to critique me, you can think whatever you want of me.
Why don't you
frankly,
just try and
I don't
answer
care.
the
I don't frankly give a damn what you think of me since I've never heard of you.
And I've never heard of you until I briefed myself for this. But that's not the issue. You have a new book out.
Then why the hell are you interviewing me, sir?
It's an interesting book. But my point is, your book claims that
society... Well, it'd be nice if you would quote it from time to time.
Your book is... Well, actually, I've done so several times, and I'm about to do so again, if you would let me just finish the question. Your book claims that society is turning its back on Judeo-Christian values.
Yeah,
what are those values? What are the values it's turning its back on?
I'm not inclined to continue an interview with a person as badly motivated as you as an interviewer. So I think we're done here. I appreciate your time, sir.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time and for showing that anger is not part of American political discourse. Now, Mr. Shapiro, we'll say goodbye.
So let me explain to you how I know Ben Shapiro is an absolute propagandist. So I'm going to look at Ben Shapiro's last, 10 or 15 podcast titles to give you an idea of